Okay, so let's start the first concept of childhood and growing up of first semester B.Ed. So the first concept is growth and development. Before we look at the differences, let's look at the definitions. So growth, what is growth? So growth is a sign of life. It refers to quantitative changes in size, which include physical changes such as height, weight, size, and internal organs. It stops at maturity and can be measured. So basically, growth is something that is purely physical. Growth means increase in size, increase in height, increase in weight that can be measured. The multiplication of cells in our body, which leads to increase and growth of our limbs, of our organs, of our height, of our weight, that is growth. Expansion in size, let's say, is growth, purely physical. Then we have development. So it refers to the qualitative and quantitative changes and can be defined as a progressive series. That means it has to progress of orderly and coherent changes which an organism undergoes in passing from an embryonic stage to maturity. It's physical, emotional, and intellectual. So development is a broader concept. Growth is just increase in size, but development is increase in size, growth plus not just physical but the emotional, intellectual, mental, psychological level also. So let's just say growth is about size, our height, our weight, whereas development is our values, our morals, our personality, our character. That is development. So in exam normally they ask for the differences. Okay, so for growth it is a quantitative concept, that is it's related to quantity, and development is a qualitative plus quantitative concept. So qualitative because let's say it talks about the quality of our values, morals, character, personality. Then growth is purely physical, whereas development is physical plus mental plus emotional. It's the whole structure that changes, the structural change. Then growth is something that stops at maturation. We grow to a certain height and then we stop, whereas development, it continues till the death of an organism. That is like from the womb to the tomb. Development is like learning our character, our personality. It does not stop developing, it always continues till the day we die. Then growth is a part of development, whereas development includes growth. Growth can be measured accurately because we can measure our height, we are this feet and this inch. We can measure our weight, we are this kg. We can measure our size also, but we cannot measure our character, our personality, our values. So that is something which cannot be measured. Now growth happens due to multiplication of cells, whereas development is progressive and orderly. Growth is cellular at the cellular level, whereas development is organizational. That means it depends on other factors such as the environment, the household, family that we are surrounded with. So growth may or may not bring development. Because there's negative growth, there is positive growth. Okay, whereas development cannot exist without growth. So that is it. Then we have one more word, neonates. So basically infants during the first 2 weeks of their birth are called neonates. Then we have the 4 principles of development. So the main ones are principle of continuity, like we say it continues throughout life from the womb to the tomb. Then we have the principle of cumulativeness. Now the principle of cumulativeness means that cumulativeness, what is the meaning of cumulativeness? Everything compiled together is cumulated. That is, cumulativeness means that all experiences that we have in life since the day we are born, since we start understanding the world, whatever we take in from our environment, from our surroundings, nothing ever goes to waste. That is, every single experiences we have had up till now and till the day we die will always have an impact on us. So everything, all experiences add up and not a single one goes to waste. Then we have the principle of orderness. So what is the order? So the development order proceeds from general to specific. That means any individual first has a general behavioral pattern. Like babies, first they crawl, they laugh, they cry, they sleep, they play. That is their general characteristics. That is same for all babies. Then they grow up and they have specific characteristics. For example, let's say there is a 2 month old baby. All of us know what 2 month old babies are like. We know they cannot talk, we know they cry, they babble sometimes. Normally 2 month olds don't even babble, they cry, they sleep, that's all. They drink milk, that's it. So it's a general behavior, but I will not know how a 6-year old will react to different 6-year olds, because they have their specific personality by then. So that is the principle of orderness. Then we have the principle of unity, that is development occurs as a whole. It includes physical, emotional, intellectual, all are interrelated and interdependent. Then other principles are individual differences. Like I said, everybody has their unique personality. Differential development, that is different rates of development. Like female babies and baby girls are said to have reach maturity earlier than boys. Then heredity stuff like our genetics, genetical makeup, and then we have our environment. So, and the growth is also spiral, not linear. So linear is something that goes straight, and why is it not linear and spiral is because we believe that in development an individual makes advances. It's not like they keep on advancing and going on in the same pattern. They make advances, they take a rest, again they make advances, they take a rest, they learn more, they rest, they learn more, they rest. So that spiral is said to be, the development is said to be spiral, not linear. That is, it is not same undulating, it comes with fluctuations, let's say. Then maturation. So basically maturation is the process that living beings go through, after which they become ripe or they are considered mature. Okay. Then we have the factors affecting growth and development. Number one is poverty. Now we all know the Indian poverty scenario. First, India was a rich country, then the Britishers came, then after that there was drainage of wealth from our economy, and then after the Britishers left, famine stopped happening, but poverty still existed up till 1960s also. It was very high. And then in 1991 we have the globalization scheme, globalization concept, let's say, of the economy, after which growth has happened and development also to a certain extent, but still there is a big gap between the rich and the poor, which has led to poverty again. So poverty, what happens is when a family is poor, okay, the children, individuals are not healthy, they have very poor well-being, very poor health, which impacts their development, their brain development, which leads to low cognitive power. Cognitive is like about understanding, about inculcating information, and then differentiation also, and understanding, judgmental capability, let's say. And then because of this low cognitive power, they have poor school readiness, which will lead to dropping out in the future. Delinquent means let's say naughty, mischievous behavior in school. Okay. And it hampers adjustment to developmental tasks. They cannot pick up certain cues and syllabus or studies properly because of their poor health and well-being. Okay, so the parents must act as a buffer, must not let these conditions impact the development of their child, but it's possible only till a certain extent. And it is the harsh reality of our society that poverty exists, which impacts individuals and their growth and development. Then lack of opportunities, like we all are very familiar with the present scenario. There is very low employment rates in India because there's so much unemployment. Okay, vacancies are less, employable youth are more. There are people who are qualified but are not able to get a job. So because of that, is led to a lot of frustration and impatience among the youth, which has hampered their growth and development. The NSSO, which is the National Sample Survey Organization, they take out their unemployment report. They have the usual unemployment report weekly and the daily. And then deprivation means not having something. So basically deprivation here means not having like ample amount of money to sustain ourselves, to live below the poverty line, to have a low standard of living, which will impact growth and development, obviously. Then disrupted family. Now family plays a very important role. A family can reinforce positive values or traumatize the children. When a family has positive influence, the child grows up to be stable, grows up to be wise, grows up to have emotional intelligence, But a child from a disrupted family, basically disrupted family refers to a situation where the children are not living with their biological parents. Okay, so which makes the children vulnerable to particular stressors. For every child, let's say, their parents are their first connection and the first understanding of relationships and bonds, right? So if the parents are not stable themselves, then the children, they will not know what a stable relationship is actually like. So because of that, when two people that are married argue, then one of these, like spouse abuse, there is nagging, it damages the well-being of the child. Sometimes children live with mentally ill parents, which leads to child abuse, child neglect, psychological, impact. Okay, so children rely on their parents to form a stable relationship framework for them that they can work on themselves later in the future. But these kind of situations creates instability in the children's life. Okay, which leads to sometimes families, they have divorced parents, right? So divorce is something that traumatizes children, because then the children are left feeling unstable and insecure, sorry. They don't know what security feels like. So feelings of insecurity and rejection really impact them. Then when there's co-parenting situation after the divorce, sometimes one of the parents, they spoil the children then can have maladaptive responses also to the separation, to the trauma, to the frustration, to the hurt and the confusion that they go through, which leads to psychological problems, mischievous behavior, delinquency. So family and school, their role, the next one. So schools give same education to all, but families differ in their environment. So basically, children from the same parents also and the same family sometimes are very different from each other. They look different, they have different genes, they have different hereditary characteristics. Sometimes because at the time of conception, physical and mental conditions of the mothers and parents are different. So even there, if there are two siblings from the same set of parents, they can be different from each other, like our siblings and our brothers and sisters are different than us in our personality, in the sense of the personality, in sense of response to stimuli, physical features, we look different. Sometimes the complexion, color, temperament. So it's the difference is even inside the family itself. So even if the school is teaching the same curriculum, same syllabus to a group of students, the students differ in their personality and psychological understanding, because all the family and the environments that impact them are different. Then neighborhood. So basically neighborhood, as we all know, is a geographical community, let's say, where people interact considerably on a face-to-face basis. So it's important for the neighborhood to also have a positive impact on the development and growth of individuals and children, basically, because if there's a bad neighborhood, then they pick up on the bad habits, maybe stealing, shouting, fighting, arguing, all these problems. Then if it's a good neighborhood, they learn what community teamwork is like, they learn moral values, they learn etiquettes, they learn social awareness, social cues. So that is also important. And lastly, housing. So many people may not realize this, but house is where we our own home. Our house is the environment that we spend most of our time in. So it's important for a healthy environment inside the house, which will ultimately have a positive impact on the psychological and the health aspect of every individual itself. So basically, for this first concept, that is the growth and development, the differences are necessary. It's very simple. Growth is purely physical, it's at the cellular level, it stops after some time, it stops at maturity, it can be measured, it is a part of development. Okay, whereas development is not just growth, it is also qualitative concept. It includes not only physical but mental, emotional concepts also. It does not stop, it is a continuous process, and it cannot be measured. Okay, and it cannot exist without growth. So growth we understood, development is understood. Neonates are infants during the first 2 weeks. Okay, four principles: principle of continuity, womb to tomb, principle of cumulativeness, everything impacts us, principle of orderness, general to specific, principle of unity, it occurs as a whole concept, not just physical, it's also emotional and intellectual. Then others, as we know, individual differences, differential development, heredity, environment. It's a spiral growth, not linear. Then maturation also, we know. Now factors affecting growth: poverty, obviously. Poor family means poor well-being, poor education, right? Lack of opportunities also creates frustration. Deprivation, when people don't have money, don't have ample money and quality of life for their well-being, they cannot function well. It impacts their growth and development. Disrupted family, when a family itself is broken, has a lot of problems, then obviously the people living under the family will face psychological stress and become vulnerable and kind of, create maladaptive measures to cope with it. Whereas family can also have a positive reinforcements. There is difference in the family or itself. Not all members of the family are same, because of their genetic makeup, because of their difference in response to stimuli, because of the different set of psychological and physical aspect that their parents were in when they were conceived. Okay, and the neighborhood also, our environment really impacts how we look at the world and how the world shapes us. Then for housing also, it's important to have a very stable, calm environment at home that does not stress us out, so that our growth and development are not hampered.